Okay, this video is looking at force and fluid. So what determines a fluid? A fluid is a substance that has no definite shape and can flow. So for example, both water and air are considered fluids. Pressure is referring to the force per unit area that is applied on the surface of an object. Pressure is measured in pascals. 1 pascal is equal to 1 Newton over 1 square meter. In order to calculate pressure, you divide the force by the area. So with that in mind, you've probably heard that you're supposed to wear sneakers when you're in the gymnasium and instead of your cleats, or girls instead of high heels. Why do you think that is? Buoyant force is referring to the upward force exerted by a fluid on any object in the fluid. You've played around with buoyant force, I bet, if you have a kickboard and you're in the swimming pool and you shove the kickboard down as far as you can, and then it comes flying up out of the water. And it comes flying up out of the water because there's a lot of upward force from the fluid exerted on that object. Okay, so liquid, like water, it exerts pressure everywhere over the surface of an object. Buoyant force is always perpendicular to the surface. So what that means, if you look at this diagram, here's the surface, perpendicular to it is the force from the liquid. So weight and buoyant force interact. Remember, weight is a measure of the force of gravity pulling down on an object, and buoyant force pushes up on an object. Whatever force is greater is going to determine whether an object sinks or floats. So if the weight is greater than the buoyant force, the object would sink. And if the buoyant force is greater than the weight, then the object would float. Density also plays a role when we're talking about buoyant force. Density is referring to the amount of mass in a given volume. And density affects weight. So if you have a given volume of a denser substance, it's going to be heavier than the same volume of a less dense substance. Okay, so if you have a container filled with sand and a container filled with air, okay, the sand one would be heavier. For example, ice is less dense than liquid water. Okay, so ice floats.